Warren Buffett once said that if someone gave you a car and it was the only car that you'd ever own, that you would take incredible care of it. You'd change the oil, you'd keep it clean, you'd avoid unnecessary damage, because once it's gone, that's it. Now imagine your body. You don't get a replacement. You don't get an upgrade. And I'll personally add that you also won't get a choice over which car you get. We don't get that luxury when we're born. So you only have one body and one mind your entire life. And somehow, despite knowing that, many of us spend years treating them as an afterthought. We endure stress, we ignore warning signs, trade sleep for productivity, trade health for convenience, and assume we'll figure it all out later. But what happens when that later eventually arrives? As practical philosophers, I believe we should stop being experiments for other people and start experimenting on our own lives. What do we actually need to live a healthy life? Not a perfect life, not a millionaire lifestyle, just a healthy one. And for me, the body comes first. Not because the mind isn't important, but because the body is the foundation that supports our mind. Exhaustion clouds our thinking. Poor health weakens our focus. And when your body is constantly working against you, building a meaningful life becomes heavier than it needs to be. So before we talk about the mind, discipline, purpose, reflection, or self-improvement, I think we need to start with the body. Because a lot of people judge themselves mentally before they check themselves physically. They say, I'm lazy, I'm unmotivated, I can't focus, and I'm falling behind. But sometimes the problem is not your character. Sometimes your body is exhausted, underfed, overstimulated, dehydrated, in pain, or running on poor sleep. And what I realized is that being awake is not the same as quality energy. You can stay up for hours scrolling on your phone, watching videos, playing video games, but intentional living drains us differently. Working, studying, exercising, creating, reflecting, making decisions, controlling your emotions, and being present with people all require a higher quality of energy. So when I talk about the body, I'm not talking about looking perfect or becoming some fitness influencer. I'm talking about building a body that supports the life that you are trying to live. Because if your body is constantly fighting you, your mind is not starting in a fair position. That is why the body comes first. And the first part of your body that I want to talk about is sleep. And I know sleep sounds basic. Everybody knows how they should sleep. But I think the reason people ignore sleep is because they treat it like wasted time. And honestly, I understand that when it's usually a third of our days. I used to believe that I was wasting my life away when I slept. I wanted to use every part of my day to work, create, learn, and actually live my life. But what I had realized was this: sleep is not life being taken away from you. Sleep is what gives you energy to actually live tomorrow. Because you cannot build a high quality life with low quality recovery. And for me, sleep was not always peaceful. There were times where I was genuinely terrified to sleep. There were times where I dealt with insomnia and I could barely fall asleep because my mind was constantly running. The second everything got quiet, my thoughts just got even louder. So when I talk about sleep, I'm not someone who's figured it out. But I do know exactly what it feels like when your body is tired and your mind doesn't feel safe enough to shut off. And I think a lot of people deal with that in different ways. People stay up for different reasons. Sometimes it's scrolling, gaming, or watching videos. Other times it is because the second everything gets quiet, your thoughts get even louder. They are not avoiding sleep because they love being awake. They are avoiding sleep because sleep forces them to sit with their own mind. That is why I don't think sleep is only a schedule problem. Your environment, stress, fear, and overthinking can all follow you into bed. Your body may be tired, but your mind can feel too active to let go. And one thing that helped me was changing how I spent my energy throughout the day. When I started making these YouTube videos, it actually helped me before going to bed. Not because YouTube magically helped me fall asleep, but because I was using more quality energy throughout the day. I was thinking, organizing my ideas, recording, editing my videos. I was putting my mind towards something that mattered to me. So by the time night came, my mind felt like it actually did something. And I believe that matters, because unused mental energy can turn into nighttime overthinking, but directed energy can turn into healthy tiredness. That is why sleep is not just about forcing yourself to close your eyes. It is about creating the conditions where your body and mind feel safe enough to shut down. It is about creating a night where your body and mind can stop fighting each other. For me, that meant changing my sleeping area and giving my mind something calmer to land on before bed. Ultimately, the routine matters less than the question: is my night helping me recover, or is it keeping me trapped in the same loop? Because if your sleep is constantly broken, your mind is not starting the next day in a fair position. Small things bother you more, focus takes more effort, and even the life that you want to live can start feeling harder to carry. And that's when people start calling themselves lazy, when their body just needs a real way to reset. So for me, the lesson is simple. Sleep is not wasted time, sleep is recovery. And you cannot build a high quality life with low quality recovery. But sleep is only one part of your recovery, because even if you sleep, the next question is, what are you giving your body to run on? And to keep it simple, I'm only going to talk about internal consumption consumption: food, drinks, caffeine, alcohol, smoking, energy drinks, and anything else your body has to process. For me, I used to drink a lot of soda, especially when I worked as a fast food manager, and at the time, I did not really think that deeply about it. To make the time fly during shifts, I just drank the free refills that we were allowed to have. But now when I look at how much sugar they actually put in some of these drinks, it honestly makes me feel sick. I wanted to share this because sometimes we consume things for years without ever asking what it's actually doing to us. And that is a self-reflection part. What am I eating? What am I drinking? How does this make me feel afterwards? This matters because the meal does not end when you finish eating or drinking. Your body still has to carry on what you gave it. And that shows up in your energy, your clarity, and how heavy or lighter you feel moving throughout the day. For me, water became my favorite drink. That might sound boring, but I genuinely love only drinking water now. More importantly, it helps my body operate. And that is really the larger point. This is not about eating perfectly, being skinny, or becoming obsessed with fitness. It is taking care of your body you have to live in. Your body is already working for you every second. Your heart is beating, your lungs are breathing, and your brain is thinking. Your body is trying to constantly keep you alive and functional. So at some point you have to ask, am I helping my body or am I making its job even harder? That is where caffeine, energy drinks, alcohol, smoking, or other coping habits come into play. I'm not here to judge people for having vices. A lot of people use certain things because they are stressed, tired, overwhelmed, or trying to get throughout the day. But self-reflection means being honest about what those things are doing to us. Is this helping me function in a practical sense? Or is it just helping me escape the moment? Is this real quality energy, or am I just being stimulated? Did I choose this intentionally, or did I become dependent on it? Coffee is a good example of why awareness matters. For a long time, it was treated like an unhealthy habit. Now, newer research gives a more balanced picture. In moderation, coffee can actually fit into a healthy lifestyle. That took me some time to accept, but that is part of the point. You have to stay open-minded when better information comes in. And the issue is not coffee by itself. The issue is needing caffeine to carry you throughout the day because your body never got to properly recover. Because if you care about your mind, your discipline, your focus, and your ability to live intentionally, then you have to care about what you keep giving your body to run on. And this also connects to basic body maintenance. I do think your body needs to be used enough that normal life does not feel harder than it should. We live in a time where people sit all day, scroll all day, drive everywhere, and barely use their body unless they are forced to. Over time, your body adapts to that too. So if going up a flight of stairs completely takes you out, that is probably worth reflecting on. Not from shame, but from awareness. Because your body is the place you have to live in. That's why walking becomes one of the simplest answers, and is one I personally enjoy. No money, no equipment needed. You just walk and get your mind off of life for a second and exist in the moment. Ultimately, taking care of your body does not have to be complicated. But when you ignore the basics long enough, your energy starts paying the price. That is why sleep, consumption, and maintaining your body all connect to the same thing, which is the quality of your energy. The goal is not to stay awake longer. Anybody can stay awake for hours when they are distracted. Scrolling, watching videos, gaming, without much intention behind it. That can take up an entire day, but that does not mean you have quality energy. Passive living is easier to fall into because it asks less of you. Intentional living asks for more from you. It asks you to work when you need to work, study when you need to study, create when you feel the passion to create, reflect when something is bothering you, and make decisions instead of avoiding them. And actually direct your life instead of letting life pull you around. So the question is not just how long can I stay awake? The question is how much of my day can I actually live with intention? And that answer varies from person to person. Someone else might need it for school, family, healing from trauma, creating, or finally facing the things they have been avoiding. That is why quality energy depends on the life you are trying to live. But regardless of what your life looks like, your body still matters. It gives you the capacity to participate in your own life. I learned that through experience. There were times I went to college classes in the morning and had night shifts from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Then later my schedule flipped where I was going to my full-time job from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and I went to night classes from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I was able to still do well in both. That experience taught me that my body could adapt when life required more from me. And back then, the situation forced the capacity out of me. Now I want to build it by choice. I do not want to wait until life pressures me before I start taking care of myself and my body. I do not want to wait until work demands more from me, stress piles up, or I'm already behind before I finally ask what my body needs. I would rather personally set myself up beforehand. And that is why I don't think the real issue is laziness. A lot of people are not lazy. They are just not setting their future self up to win. If your sleep is broken, your consumption is careless, your body barely moves, and your whole day is built around passive living, then intentional living is naturally going to be heavier. So the deeper question is this: do I have energy to distract myself, or do I have energy to direct myself? Because those are not the same. Energy to distract yourself gets spent on scrolling, watching, avoiding, and waiting for the day to pass. Energy to direct yourself goes into building, learning, fixing, and creating something. Having a hard conversation, taking care of your family members, showing up for your responsibilities, and actually living the life you keep thinking about. That is why the body matters. And this is not about building the perfect body. It is about building a body that can carry your actual life. So instead of asking, am I lazy? Maybe the better question is, am I preparing for the life I want or leaving it to my future self? So drink water, get some rest, eat with awareness, move your body, sit in the sun, take a cold shower if your mind is spiraling and you need something physical to pull you back into your body. Not because any of these things magically fix your life, but because sometimes the mind does not need another thought. Sometimes it needs the body to remind it where it is. And before we talk about mastering the mind, we have to respect the body that the mind is currently living in. The body gives you the energy to live. The mind decides how you interpret what you're living through. If you want a place to reflect, ask questions, share ideas, or talk with people who are trying to live their life intentionally, you can join my Discord server in the description below.